Hello, welcome back. This is our ninth episode here of Three Mike Sports Talk. Got a little bit of a different setup here today. Instead of doing our regular all of us in one place, we actually got three guys, three different places. Unfortunately, today we don't have Aiden joining us, but sitting in for him is Avery Chenier. Avery, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty well, man. We got a big show today. Planning on looking at some NCAA conference tournaments. We've got a Pac-12 football preview, a little bit of NFL offseason talk, and we'll talk a little bit about how the NBA season is looking. All right, so let's get right into it here. Let's start with some college. Let's hit the hard court for some college basketball. Patrick, what tournaments have you been looking at these last couple days?
I'm really excited for the Pac-12 tournament in particular. I love
Hello,
the Pac-12.
welcome back. This is our ninth episode here of Three Mike Sports Talk. Got a little bit of a different set.
All right, there you go. So, yeah, we know, of course, Arizona, Utah, maybe Oregon are locks for the tournament. I'm interested to see. There's a bunch of teams on the bubble from the Pac-12, like UCLA, Stanford, Arizona State. I'm interested to see how they perform. I'm also interested, of course, in the Big Ten. A lot of teams on the bubble there. There's not a lot of top-end talent this year in the Big Ten, but there is some depth. Teams like Purdue, Indiana, and Illinois are all going to have to fight for their spot in the national tournament. What are you thinking about that?
In terms of the Pac-12 tournament here, I think that the only team that really stands a big shot is Arizona. Oregon might be able to sneak in there, but I don't really feel anybody below that has a chance. Maybe Utah as well. I agree that the Pac-12 doesn't really have that depth this year. They don't really have much aside from Arizona. I don't know what you feel about how you feel about that, Patrick.
Utah has been pretty legit this year, I think. I do think Arizona probably will run away with the conference tournament. I don't think any team will challenge them. They'll probably face Utah in the finals. They could give them a tough test, but I don't see them losing by less than 10. I think it'll be at least a 10-point win for Arizona. But I think there are teams in the Pac-12 that could get into the tournament as 14th, 15th, 16th seeds that really need a big showing. That's why I'm looking for this tournament. Teams like UCLA and Stanford.
Yeah, Avery, you got anything?
I'm just looking at Arizona still winning it right now. They're just the deepest team so far. You got the best player in T.J. McConnell by far in that conference, and up-and-coming guys like Stanley Johnson just make them the best defensive team possibly in the country and just the conference too.
Yeah, McConnell, Johnson, and Hollis Jefferson are all from Arizona, and they're like the three top candidates for Pac-12 Player of the Year. So I think it really shows the manpower that Arizona's got over the rest of the conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Patrick, you talked a little bit about the Big Ten when you were a little bit earlier there. Who do you see winning that conference tournament? Or is it even really a question?
I think it's Wisconsin's clearly the favorite. I watched Maryland play last week. They didn't really impress me. They're the number 2 seed in the Big Ten. I think other teams like Ohio State, Indiana could maybe pull a couple upsets off in the Big Ten tournament, but I just don't see any team really beating Wisconsin there.
Yeah, Avery, I know you're a big Big Ten guy. Who do you like out of there?
I gotta say Wisconsin, but wouldn't honestly be surprised if Maryland won. They beat them a couple weeks ago at home. They're just a good, solid team with Melo Tremble and Des Wells, but honestly, you can't really stop Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, there's an argument that Frank Kaminsky is the best player in the nation. Also, with Wisconsin here, it'll be interesting to see how that game gets played out on a neutral court. As you alluded to, that game was in Maryland, so it'll be interesting to see how that changes things, if at all. All right, so let's move to the Big 12 tournament. Arguably, the most depth comes out of that conference. Patrick, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking to see, as opposed to the other tournaments, it's really some sort of have a clear favorite. This one is more wide open. Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State are all probably the top favorites. But teams like Oklahoma, West Virginia, and maybe Oklahoma State could make a run in there. Should be a good tournament for the Big 12.
Avery, got anything?
Yeah, I got Iowa State winning that one. It's a deep conference, and honestly, 6 or 7 teams could win that thing. But Iowa State has to return to their form from early in the year, and Honestly, George Yang could be the best player in that conference as well, so gotta look out for them.
Yeah, you look at the Big 12, any given night you can see any of those teams win. But I'm going to take Baylor in this one. Obviously, they've got great size down low. Uh, they have the 12th best offense if you adjust it against the third best adjusted defense in the nation. I'm obviously looking at a guy like Rico Gathers, who averaged 11.7 rebounds a game, and he in his last 10 games, I think it is something like 14 points a game. So he's putting up big offensive numbers as well as grabbing boards. All right, so let's look at the ACC, another conference that has a lot of skill in it. Patrick, who do you think is going to run away with this one?
Well, it's hard to pick against Duke at this point. Obviously, a lot of really good teams here. Notre Dame could make a run here. I know Aiden would be happy if they did. I'm also interested to see how Miami does. I think they should be in the NCAA tournament, but a lot of other people think they shouldn't. So they need to have a good showing there, and probably need to make it to at least the ACC finals to make the tournament. Also looking at teams North Carolina, Louisville, Virginia could all win this tournament. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, Avery, you got anything?
Yeah, I also have Duke winning this one. They're the much more complete team. Virginia's had some trouble scoring throughout the year, but they've always been bailed out by their defense. So it'll be exciting to see how Duke can play through that. And obviously, Jaleel Okafor and Tyus Jones are some of the best freshmen in the country. So it'll be a good tournament for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in defense winning championships, so I'm going to have to stick with the Cavs in this one. They have the best defense in the nation. I don't think there's really a doubt about that. And I agree it'll be interesting to see how they match up against that high-powered Duke offense. Also, I might look a little bit at UNC here, but I don't think anybody other than that has a serious shot. I know some people are saying Louisville, but I don't know if either of you have caught the first two games of the tournament.
I haven't.
Yeah, they've both been great affairs. I think both of them were two-point finishes. Virginia Tech just knocked out Wake Forest 81-80. Great games. If that's foreshadowing the rest of the tournament, we're in for a good one. All right, so the SEC, I know I say the same thing every week. Weak conference. Kentucky's the best team in the country. I don't think they're going to lose. What do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, I think Kentucky will win this tournament, I think, pretty easily. We'll look at some other teams. Once again, the SEC has teams on the bubble like LSU and Texas A&M that need some big wins. So I'm looking at those teams, we'll see who can give Kentucky the biggest run for their money, and that team could be a big winner come seeding time for the tournament.
Yeah, I definitely think Kentucky will win, but it'll be nice to see if anyone else can upset them. You're not going to have an inspired performance, possibly, knowing that they're going to be a number one seed. But hopefully they can keep going and just keep being undefeated.
So have there been any games or teams or tournaments you guys have seen so far where you've seen any tournament caliber teams out of maybe a mid-tier, low-tier conference?
Definitely like a Murray State going on a 25-game winning streak at the end of the year, and unfortunately losing to Belmont. Not Belmont, but they lost in their tournament. They have a legit bid to get into the tournament. They're a good team, and unfortunately weren't able to win their conference, and hopefully they can get an at-large bid.
I was looking at. All right, sorry, Kozik's never mind. Kozik.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at Wofford. They had a win over Furman last night to take the Southern Conference. They've been a solid team all year, proven in the tournament. It'll be interesting to see how they can do. All right, so we've got to continue our tradition here of our conference previews for the upcoming college football season this year. This week we're going to look at the Pac-12. Patrick, I know that you're a big USC fan. You love that conference. What are you looking for this season?
Well, all the eyes are going to be on Oregon, of course, coming back after a national championship performance. I'll start with the North Division here for a little bit. Oregon is the clear favorites to win this. They're not bringing a great recruiting class. They're losing a few key players like Marcus Mariota and Ifo Ekpe-Olumu. But you look at the second and third teams there, Stanford and Washington. Washington's pretty much losing all their defense, which their whole team last year was their defense. They didn't really have an offense. And they're losing players like Howley, Kikaha, Danny Shelton, Marcus Peters, Shaq Thompson, all defensive players that will likely be first-round picks. Stanford had a weak year last year. We'll see how they bounce back, but I don't think any team in the North can really challenge Oregon to win that division. I'm more interested in the South Division. There's going to be a crazy race there. There are 5 teams. It's really a toss-up right now, but there's all USC, Arizona, UCLA, Arizona State, and Utah are all contenders there. They all finished last year in the top 25. No great teams in that division, but a lot of really good teams. It's going to be fun to see that race. My personal prediction for the South, I think it's going to come down to USC and Arizona, and likely whoever wins that battle will win that division.
All right, Avery, you got anything to say about that?
I think Oregon's still the best team in that conference. USC brought in a pretty good recruiting class, so did UCLA, but it'll be interesting to see how the other teams do. Arizona's obviously played well against them recently, against Oregon, but yeah, I still think it's theirs to lose.
So do you think that if this were to come down to a championship game, Arizona, Oregon, you're obviously taking Oregon?
Yeah, but I think there's always a chance for an upset. Anything can happen, honestly, but Oregon's the much better team.
Yeah, in that conference championship, I think Patrick might be happy with what I'm about to say, but I think it's gonna be USC, Oregon. Quarterback Cody Kessler had a great season last year. The Trojans had an explosive offense. It'll be interesting to see if they can shut things down on the defensive front, and I think they have a pretty good shot of making to the conference championship.
Yeah, USC is not just based on my bias, but USC is my pick to win the South. Obviously, Cody Kessler returning is a big part of that. They're returning a lot of defensive key players like Sua Cravens, an All-American, and returning linebacker Anthony Sorrow is going to be a big part of the team. Losing a couple important key skill position players like running back Buck Allen and receiver Nelson Aguilar. But I think they're going to be replaceable. Wide receiver Juju Smith was a freshman last year. He's due for a big breakout season. He really came on late last year. He's a big kid. He just turned 18 a couple months ago, and he's already 6'2", 220 pounds. He put up almost 800 receiving yards last year as a freshman. Also, Adoree Jackson plays defense, offense, special teams. He's really a playmaker. He could have come up with some big plays to help them win some games down the road.
Do you think there's any need for the Pac-12 to do some sort of realignment here to even out the 2 divisions?
It's possible. When the Pac-12 first expanded to 12 teams, there's supposed to be Stanford and Cal in the south and Utah and Colorado in the north, but they changed that and switched those 2 teams around because they said the south would be too strong. So it's interesting now that the south is stronger with Utah. Geographically, I don't think there's really any way to change things that make it easier. I don't think the Pac-12 needs to expand. They're obviously looking great on the national level. I think it's just going to take a couple of years for teams in the north like Cal has got a young team, Washington, Stanford. They'll be back up in the top 25 in a couple of years. So I don't think there's any need to make any changes.
Avery, you got anything on that?
I totally agree.
All right, well, let's stay on the gridiron here unless you have anything else to say, Patrick, about the Pac-12.
Nothing else, really. I'm excited for this year. It's going to be a good year for the Pac-12.
Yeah, we know you're a passionate fan there. All right, so let's stay on the gridiron here and move into some of these NFL offseason signings we've seen. I don't know if it's been made official yet or not, but Frank Gore apparently going to the Colts.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know if that's been made official?
I believe it has been made official. And it's a good signing for the Colts. I think they do need a running back. They need help there. I think Frank Gore is a little past his prime, but it's a good pickup for the Colts there.
Avery, you got anything?
I agree with that. Trent Richardson's been a bust, and so they've got him, so they really need help there.
Yeah, okay. So we also had Sue signing with the Dolphins for $114 million over 6 years. That's a lot of money. There have been some I heard today that the Dolphins are a little scared, thinking they might get charged with some tampering things. Did you hear anything about that?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that, no.
How do you think that'll shape up this Dolphins team?
Well, it's really going to obviously improve their defense as long as Sue can stay relatively unsuspended. It's a lot of money to be paying a player that does get suspended so much. He's known for his dirty play. It's it's a questionable signing, but it does really give a big boost to their defense.
Yeah, Avery, how do you feel about that?
I totally agree. They got a good D line, like one of the top 10 defense already, and it can't hurt them honestly. But he's a trouble player, and hopefully he'll be able to play well for them, and they'll get their money's worth.
All right, so now to one of the more interesting transactions of the offseason, LaShawn McCoy signing with the Bills. Anything interesting there you see?
Well, it is interesting. LaShawn McCoy, the trade in the first place to Buffalo for Kiko Alonso, that was one of the biggest blockbusters in a long time we've seen in the NFL. LaShawn, obviously the Bills have been kind of a troubled franchise, not a lot of good stuff's going on there, so it's interesting to see LaShawn McCoy sign that extension with them. But it's going to help Buffalo for sure. They've had some problems with running backs like Anthony Dixon, CJ Spiller. They haven't really had any consistency, so it's a great pickup for the Bills. They're losing a really important young player in Kiko Alonso, but I think they'll be able to fix that, to replace him really with drafting. I think LaShawn McCoy is a player that they couldn't draft to replace him, so I think that's a good pickup for the Bills.
Avery?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good deal on both sides. The Eagles are picking up a good linebacker for sure, and the Bills need a guy like that. They did sign him to a 5-year extension as soon as he got traded. And honestly, for a running back, it's his last go at a deal, so he got a good deal out of it. The Bills got a good player, and so did the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't think that Eagles fans were too thrilled about it at first, but I think it's been made a little better. And look at that, we actually have our first caller today. I guess is that James from Toronto there?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm actually in Colorado right now.
Oh, that's sweet. Got any questions for the boys today?
Dorgan?
James, you got any questions for the boys?
Yeah, sorry about that. I just had some connections issue. Yeah, first off, what do you think about the Raptors? Having lost 8 of their last 9, they seem to be in a bit of a rut. You know, obviously Kyle Lowry missed a few games, but I'm wondering, what do you guys think they need to do to get out of it?
Well, I think they need to start picking things up on defense there. And I think in 7 of those 9 games, they've given up over 100 points. I think the other 2 times it was 98, 99. Obviously, that's not acceptable if you want to play championship quality basketball. I'm not saying that the Raptors are necessarily championship contenders, but they're definitely looking to take this Eastern Conference. But yeah, I think more hustle and more lockdown D is what the Raptors need right now.
Yeah, for sure. They need to improve their D. I think it has a lot to do with intensity. I haven't seen them really show that intensity in the last couple of weeks. Really, their first game after the All-Star break was a big win over the Hawks, but since then I haven't seen much from them. They really looks kind of sluggish out there. It's strange to see after they just had a break. I think Kyle Lowry didn't have a break, and he's looked the most sluggish to me, but then they gave him another break. They gave him a couple of games off. So I think they just need to pick up the energy if they want to be real contenders in the East.
Avery, what do you got?
They definitely seem to be reverting back to their old ways pre-Dwayne Casey era. It's obviously showing on defense, and they can't score, so that's going to be a problem to win games.
Yeah, James, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, you know what? I'm hopeful they can turn it around. I mean, they got 3 games coming up against teams currently in playoff position, the Spurs tonight. You know what? I think they just got to settle down, get back into their rhythm. They're a great offensive team, and they're capable of playing shutdown defense. So hopefully they'll pull it together for the stretch run here.
All right, thanks, James. Thanks for the question. You got anything else for us?
I actually do. Recently today, there's been some devastating news for Blue Jays fans. Marcus Stroman's torn his ACL. He's going to be missing likely the entire season. What do you think that means for the Blue Jays this year? And they seem to be in win now mode. So
Yeah, I know Stroman is a fan favorite, especially amongst these young baseball players out here. He's what is he, 5'11", so he has a lot. He's a small guy. A lot of guys relate to
Like
him.
you, Kozix.
Shows shows a lot of heart out there. So I know he's obviously a fan favorite. A lot of guys are gonna miss him, and he went 11-6 last year. That's fantastic for a young pitcher. The one good thing is he is young, so he does still have his whole entire career ahead of him, assuming he doesn't get more injuries related to this one.
Also, we're going to see other young guys being forced into the starting rotation in Toronto. Aaron Sanchez in particular. Aaron Sanchez, he came out of the bullpen. He's naturally a starter, so hopefully he'll get his chance to shine, and hopefully he can do things similar to what Stroman would have done. But the other guys, the veterans, Burley and Dickey, they really need to really be a lot more consistent than they've been the last couple of years if they want to be serious contenders for the Blue Jays.
yeah, I'm thinking Daniel Norris, a guy who's got a lot of publicity lately for his ways of living in a van during spring training. He's been mistaken for a homeless person. This is going to be a big opportunity for him to step up. The Blue Jays do have a lot of top quality prospects, so hopefully they'll be able to sort of damage control this. But yeah, it's tough for a guy like Stroman.
Yeah, Avery, I know you're gonna have something to say about this.
Yeah, it's a big blow for sure. Honestly, the rotation wasn't one of their strong points to start off with, and now they're going to have a bunch of young guys hoping to pick up where Stroman left off. And maybe a guy like Johan Santana will be able to get into the rotation and help them win some games.
The complete opposite direction from what everybody else said, and going with the young guys.
Oh, yeah.
James, you satisfied with those answers?
I am. Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one. I'm enjoying
problem.
the show.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Gordon.
We'll keep things going for you.
All right, see you, boys.
All right, so as James leaves there, we're going to move into our weekly, or bi-weekly, I guess, NFL mock draft. We've got draft expert Patrick Stevenson here. What are you looking at? Where did we leave off? Picks 20? We're at pick 20, aren't we?
Yeah, we're at pick 20, which is Philadelphia, and they need help in their defensive backfield, I think. So we put Ifo Ekpreolumu, the cornerback out of Oregon, got injured near the end of the year last year, so he missed the college football playoff. It didn't seem to hurt Oregon too much. That doesn't mean he's not an important player for them. He's been consistently the best corner in the Pac-12 the last 2, maybe 3 years. So I think that's where the Eagles will look at 20th overall.
Yeah, with the 19th pick here, we've got Eric Flowers, an offensive tackle out of Miami, heading to the Browns in the AFC North there. Obviously a big guy, played well for the Hurricanes this year. It'll be interesting to see how he does professionally.
Also, he's more athletic than people think for a big guy. I'm not sure what his combine numbers were, but I think he's more athletic than you'd expect him to be. So it would be a good pickup there for Cleveland.
Yeah, nothing like a big athletic guy to play offensive tackle for you.
Yeah, and the 18th overall pick is Kansas City, and we predict Devontae Parker, the wide receiver out of Louisville. To me, I personally thought he was a bit inconsistent this year. When I saw him at Louisville, he put up big numbers some games, but some games he seemed to disappear. I didn't think he really showed up to play in the big games for Louisville. Against Florida State in particular, I didn't think he wasn't really a big factor there. So he needs to step up the consistency, but I have him in the first round purely because of his athletic and playmaking ability. He's big. He's fairly big. He's really fast. He's NFL talent, and I think he's a first round pick.
Yeah, with the 17th pick, I'm looking at the Chargers here. Obviously, a defensive tackle named Jordan Phillips out of Oklahoma. That really competitive Big 12 conference we had this year. The Sooners, they were in it most of the way. But once again, another big man From the Big 12, Jordan Phillips, San Diego. Who you got 16th, Patrick?
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I got you. Patrick, you there? All right, well, I guess I'll continue things here. Avery, you still there?
I'm still here.
All right, sounds good. You know anything about Trey Waynes, cornerback out of Michigan State?
I know Michigan State seems to be a cornerback factory, so I'm guessing that he's a good back, probably very physical. He is very physical. I have seen that. And yeah, you can't really go wrong with a corner or a defensive back out of Michigan State.
All right, well, that's who we have going 14th to Miami. All right, so let's go to the 13th pick here. Going to New Orleans, we have Shaq Thompson, the linebacker out of Washington. Obviously, a big, physical, strong, athletic linebacker out of the Pac-12 there. Played great throughout the whole season. He may or may not have led the conference in sacks per game. Not sure about that. All right, so looks like we've lost Patrick here. So I don't know if you know how the tradition works here, Avery, but we've got time for quick picks.
All right,
You ready? You ready to do this?
I'm so ready.
All right, so first game we got BYU versus Gonzaga, and that's going tonight. Who you got in that game?
I'm definitely taking Gonzaga on that one.
All right, so I'm gonna do the picks for Aiden as well because he's not here today. Aiden also took Gonzaga, but I'm gonna go against you guys here. BYU beat Gonzaga in the last game of the season, and they're gonna do it again. I think that they're gonna do it in this conference championship game this evening. All right, so we head over to the ice where we got the New York Rangers taking on the Washington Capitals. Who you got in that one?
I have the Capitals winning that one. Ovi's been pretty hot lately, and let's see if the Caps roll.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Rangers, and so did Aiden. One of the top teams in the NHL right there. It's an away game, but we'll see how they can do. All right, and that brings us finally up to the hard court where we've got the LA Clippers taking on OKC. Who you got there?
I've got OKC winning that one. Russell's been too good lately, and we'll see how the Clippers can play.
Yeah, Aiden has OKC as well, and so do I. Obviously, the Clippers have been one of the top teams in the NBA throughout the season, but the Thunder are coming off hot, as you said. Westbrook, red hot. It'll be interesting to see how he does there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'd like to thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, we lost Patrick there, but we'll catch up on his quick picks. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, stay up, Three Mics Nation.